Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the poker coaching study session for tonight. We are going to look at what we've been doing the past few weeks. 40 big blinds. We're going to start working the button for the next little while uh, with how the ranges interact with one another. We're going to do that largely through solver play today. So, without further ado, let's take a look. If we remember from the last few weeks where we've been studying, the cutoff is going to open range that's going to be highly constructed of suited sixes and offsuit nines into the button. So knowing that this is what he's opening, the button has a response for three bets, and it's based around his best value hands, which want a three bet for value, which are these ones here, tens plus, ace king, ace queen, right, ace jack suited, all of these value hands, protected by calling with ace queen off, ace jack off, king queen off, ace jack, ace 10, and some jacks in here, some tens in here, and some nines in here. Then come the bluff areas where we want to get two elements going. We want to target bottom of his offsuit range here. That's his eights, nines, tens that are all offsuit here. We want to target this area. And we do that with these kind of hands here. Some of them that have a blocker to the best value, which is the ace and the king, blocking the best value hands that he has. And then cards that don't really interact so much with the bottom of his range. So this 5, 6, 7, 8s, and 9s, these cards here are going to target these 9s and these 10s a lot. And when we raise these ones are suited. So we only have 4 combos and none of them are at full frequency against all of these, which he has at full frequency. So these are 12 combos of each of these spots here. And we are raising 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So we're raising a lot less than he's trying to defend with this. We also use some of our aces as bluffs here too, blocking the best value card that he has, an ace. And then these ones that if they get folds, it's great because they don't really want to play post flop so well, but they can also call and keep in some of his worst stuff here. So these ones get to mix. His response to our three bet, and then we have just kind of some stuff here that's on the weaker side that can call and just not raise and try and realize equity. Because we are last to act, we will be the button on the flop and on the turn and on the river. So there is some advantageous position of just getting in here with ace 3 suited, king 4 suited. His response when we 3-bet on the button. Whoops, this is from the button. There we go. When we 3-bet 40 big blinds, so he goes to 2.3, we go to 6.6 or 6.9. He responds with a split strategy. He has a lot of calling with his suited side, which still plays pretty well. He folds these offsuit combos. Now remember, each pip here, each square is 12 combos. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 times 12 is 144 combos of hands that he folds when we take this 3-betting strategy. And 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 23. So he folds 144 offsuit combos and 23 suited combos. So you can see his suited range And your suited range, when you are in the cutoff and you get 3-bet, can defend quite wide. You're still well enough, deep enough to realize your equity. You still have lots of connections. You want to have some board coverage. And we'll look at that a little bit later as to why you want to have some of this board coverage. He is going to attack with his best value range, protected by just flatting aces here a lot. Some of his best suited value hands here that just want to run 5 cards, Queen Jack and King Jack, but also they can black. Ace Queen for value. And then he has to have some bluffs, and his bluffs have to block the best part of our range. So that's where this Ace 5, Ace 4, and Ace 3 come in. They block our best value hands, our Ace King, our Ace Queen, our Ace Thing. And these ones here that he's raising when he reattacks us don't block us folding these hands here, right? He doesn't want to have a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9 in his hand. So he chooses these Ace 5, Ace 4, Ace 3, and Ace 2, and very occasionally slivers of 7s and 5s and 4s and 9s. And of course, the buttons response versus 3-bet all in versus 4-bet all in from the cutoff is we just have a very linear range here. 7s plus, Ace King, and Ace Queen and Ace Jack suited. Now, I will say something here. These two hands here, Ace Queen and Ace Jack suited, are in here because we are relying on the villain finding some bluffs with these hands and finding some hands like this. If you take this part of his strategy out, where you just have an opponent who doesn't 3-bet these hands are going to struggle against the value range of 9s plus, Ace King, and Ace Queen off. And so you can trim the fat around some of these and trim the fat around some of these if your opponent is not finding these. So, that is a very tough thing to realize, but I don't find my opponents showing up here with Ace 3, Ace 4, and Ace 5 very often. So I have been very leery of this hand, particularly getting in here, Ace Jack suited. So yeah, let's dive into some solver work. Before we do that, I will show you guys, whenever I do solver work like this, I like to have a place to put information that I find. So I created a tree of study, and I have all of the different positions at all of the different blind levels and button at 40. And then I have them against all the different positions and just set up as Word documents so that when I find information on how a hand plays out that can be generalized, I will turn that in and I will label it as IP for in position. That would be the button at this point. And I will label it as out of position for the cutoffs. And when I find other coaches who are doing screenshots, like from our study group with Louis Philippe, they do bar charts. God's Big Toe also does these. You can take a screenshot of them and use them for your personal study. Of course, publishing someone else's information without permission definitely is a very shady copyright spot. So I would encourage all of you to either use the notepad function or get a Word document going and try and work out what we can look at and things that tend to come up over and over again. Okay. Yeah, weird that ace jack is a call. Lots. Yep, enough bluffs. Ace jack suited. You got it, Dooley. So here I have set up this spot so that we will be playing against the cutoff today. After a little while, we will switch it around. And we're also going to look through, once we get to some post-flop spots, monotone boards, paired boards, and how our two ranges play a little differently. Ace 5 off. Is anyone three betting this, folding this, or calling here?
I think this is a pure fold.
Fold? Oh yeah. Excellent. All right, ace king. Fold her out to the cutoff, raises. Pretty standard 3-bet here. Right? Remember, you can protect your range with some flatting with ace queen and ace jack here. But ace king just wants value. And what do we do when he shoves it in?
Pure call.
Run it.
Snap.
And look at that. Some maniac in here with pocket sixes. Another ace 5. Pocket kings. I wonder if we're ever going to get to a spot that's post flop. Does do a little bit of calling here, which is interesting. Anyone ever calling with pocket kings?
I think shallower on my slow play, but not this too.
Okay, let's take this so that we get a post flop spot. All right, Jack 9-8. Connected. Rainbow. Jack and 9 board.
We 3-bet and he call?
Nope, we flatted here.
Okay.
The flat is a very low frequency play, but it is in there. I think we want to bet, but how big do you guys want to bet?
I think we want to start geometric so we can get it all in by the river, even though it's slightly wet board.
Yeah, probably a bit on the heavier side, but like so 2/3 pot if that's an option, or 5.9 it looks like.
Okay. What about 8.9? Anyone consider that?
Sometimes, I guess.
I mean,
Anyone consider going all the way?
Well, you're just getting called when you're beat, and when you're beat, you're often dominated.
Let's take a look.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, it is looking for the geometric move. It is going to bet small. It is going to probably change its strategy on the turn. He calls. And we get a pretty brick of a turn. Completes no straights. Not likely going to be a lot of 2 pairs in the 8-4 range. What do you guys think?
I
I
like
just-
betting,
I
I like
just
betting 10 so you can get it in over.
I just hit the same button because I'm lazy. So I
And-
bet 4.
4 big blinds. Okay.
Uh,
So here are some 10s, some 4s. Let's take a peek. Yeah, 9.8 big blinds. 10 is preferred size. 6.5 is just fine too.
Do
The
we wanna-
4 big blinds is a little small.
Do we want to bet a bit heavier here just because there's so many poisonous river cards? Like other than a 2 or a 3, it's either an overcard or every other card in the deck brings a straight.
Yeah, and the other thing too, this sizing, going to 9.8, we're going to put in 10. He's going to put in 10. There's going to be 30 in there, and we're going to have 25 left. It's a very nice river shove. This also accomplishes the same thing, but allowing a few more hands that for him to defend. But both of them are still good. The EV is slightly higher with the smaller bet, but it is definitely a more risky play.
I said that a lot of the time. Why the silver pick didn't pick the best EV line?
So some EV lines that aren't the highest will be more risky, right? So this one generates a few more chips, but loses a lot more often, right? You're going to get this guy to continue with a lot of his hands. This one, you're going to start making him fold out a lot of hands, right? Like here, he's probably going to call with some second pairs here, and maybe even some third pairs. But when you take this size, he's probably going to fold them. You can even take a look here quickly. The difference between what he calls with the bet sizes. Cutoff checks on the turn when we bet the 6.5. His response is he is calling with all of his eights still, except for ace eights and king eights. He's calling with all of the eights that have straight interaction, to pair, the draw. And he's still hidden here with 8-7 and 8-6 even. When we take the bigger size, he just starts folding more stuff that we're beating. He just starts folding more hands that we're ahead of. Right?
Folds
he's
10%
folding
more.
his eight-
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
In your
So-
opinion, is the overall population is really taking care of the amount you bet?
Overall population.
Yeah.
So I think there are some people who, when they have a 10 on this board, they'll pay 6 or they'll pay 9, and I don't think it matters. Good players, the more studied a player is, the more they will realize that bet size matters to the value of their draws. And when they see this 9.8 into an 11 big blind pot, you know, they're not getting 43% equity, you know, which is that you need more than a flush draw. You need a flush draw with a gut shot or a flush draw with an over and a gut shot, right? To kind of weather this type of a bet. They're going to fold. So, yeah. Give it a bet and he folds. And this is exactly what we were looking at here. Right? When we use the bigger size, ace-9 folds.
I think I agree with Peter that the population that they have a draw or something, they call you no matter what, even when you make your bet bigger. But that's actually good because then you get your value. No matter they call it the flush draw and a straight draw, when they not get there, you get the maximum value that you want.
Yep. All right, Queen Jack suited. First of all, is this a 3-bet or a call, and why?
I think this is a pure call because this is, as they say, a drawing in, and there are some reverse supply notes here.
I think it's mixing.
I think it's mixing, yeah, 60-40.
We're probably mostly calling because we'd rather see a flop. We don't want to fold to a 4-bet. Plus one
I like
position.
that
Yeah,
answer.
I think Reiner is right. We're probably mixing, but calling like 65% or something.
Yeah, this hand wants to see a flop, especially in position.
I think it's per call.
Perfect call. And the idea is right. This
Fucking
hand
fish.
plays well. You want to keep some weaker queens and some weaker jacks in. We have a flush draw, and if we 3-bet and get jam, we can't defend this hand. And this hand wants to party. It loves being in position.
That has less blocker qualities too.
One question, what if big blind is squeezed with the queen jack suit? What's the response?
So if the big blind squeezes, and we'll look at squeezing next year a little bit, right? As a
Okay.
general concept. Against squeezes, because it's multiple ranges, it's pretty tough, and you have to figure out what a person's doing. If the small blind squeezes, you get to play a little more because he's disincentivizing the big blind from playing, and he's putting pressure on us. When the big blind squeezes, I mean, all he has to do is just call a single raise and see a pot. So he has a ton of stuff that he doesn't want to squeeze, right? He just wants to get a great price, right? For
Right.
1.5 more chips, right? He gets to try and win 7 chips. So squeezing here, when the big blind squeezes, it's trouble. It's usually very linear, right? It is the best of his range and some bluffs against our very wide ranges here. But in this circumstance,
Got
we get a slightly bigger than half pot lead from the cutoff. Now, how many 3s and 2s do we have in our range?
I don't think we have any. Well, we've got 3s and 2s.
So we are the button.
We've got more 3s. We have 3s and 2s, and cutoff doesn't.
So versus the cutoff, we have pocket 3s and pocket 2s, and we have ace 3 and ace 2. But the button, or the cutoff, when he just raises, he has ace 3 and ace 2, but he also has king 3 and king 2. So he has a little more 3s and 2s, but to be honest, neither the 3 nor the 2 is a big factor in the range here. So then we go to what's the next card on the board. And if we look at his range, he has all these 8s here, and he has these 8s, and he has these 8s. Our range, we have these 2, but then we start choosing some 8s to bet, so we lose out on some of the 8s in our range. We also don't defend quite as wide because we're folding this one, and we don't have these 2 as well. So he actually has more 8s and more 3s and more 2s in his range. So even though he's out of position, he's leading from a spot of strength. We also don't really have aces, kings, and queens at very much frequency, as you saw. Like when we had the pocket kings, they were, what, 94% or 95% 3-bet, and pocket queens are going to be very similar. So he has the overpair advantage. He has more 8s than us. It's weird, like this board looks very neutral, but it's really a bad board for us. So what are we going to do with Queen Jack here that definitely wants the party?
So if it's not off us, then I would assume we just call it and try to realize our equity.
Okay. He's taking a big sizing, so it's not a bad idea. I think it's going to call a lot here too. Yep, very easy call. But you can see even raising is not a very big difference in terms of chip EV, but we have to kind of protect our range here. The flush completes. Now, when we go here and we look at the hands that we 3-bet and the hands that we call, remember, there's a big wide swath of calling that we do with lots of suited hands. So now the equity advantage has changed. The board texture changed, and all of a sudden the 8 and the 3 and the 2 don't matter quite so much. The driving factor for the equity on this board is going to be who has a spade in their hand. Now, he has checked. I think we want to bet. The question is how big and why.
So if we get that 16 more in the pot is around 30, 32. That's an easy shove. So I would guess 8.
Into 14. Does that give him the price to continue with the ace or the king of spades?
So he's 20%. Without card removal, he's 20% did his flop. I think that is the pot odds to. No, it's not quite the pot odds to call. I don't think.
How much is in the pot? 14.
Yeah, 15 bigs.
I go half pot also. 8.
Here's some half pot. I think because we have 2 spades in our hand, you might even be able to get away with this. Right? Like we're not really afraid of any river card other than a spade coming. And if it's the ace or king of spades, it's not really a problem for us either. Maybe it's just going to be hard to get paid if another spade rolls off. Yeah, no. We have this board so locked up that it wants to bet small and try and make sure that he calls with the ace king and some worse spades. If we had a hand more like queen 7 of spades, where we unblock him also having the jack, or jack 7 of spades, where we're more afraid of him having the ace king or queen, it might drive up the betting size a little more to be more of this. But with 2 big spades here, we just block a lot of his continues, so we give him a better price.
You would bet smaller because he still has range advantage on this board.
We bet even smaller if we have the ace of spades and we're blocking this. Not draw.
So yeah, you can see it does use a mixed strategy here, betting the medium size and betting the small size. And they're both pretty primary, 16% there, 27% there. So it's not a mistake really using these sizes. So yeah. You're okay to bet away on either spot here. And we get this queen on the river, which we block. We have a stack to pot ratio of less than 1. He checks.
I don't think solver ever does anything but shove here.
Anything but shove?
You know? That's what I think.
That's right. You guys got to be shoving for value. Don't try and sell yourself into trying getting him to call a little cheaper, a little wider. Try and get the value while you have the best hands. And look at him call with a set of 8s. Love it.
If you're raised on
Interesting.
the turn, if you're check raised on the turn, what do you think you do there?
With the 3rd nut hand,
Yeah,
Uh,
are you folding?
push it in and click rebuy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right?
You're going broke.
Yeah.
Unless it's a double paired board, then you gotta give it another thought.
Yeah, if you wind up here with like 9, 10 of spades, that is really gross. But yeah. Yeah, if it's flush over flush, you've kind of just gotten coolered. And I don't think there's very much else to do with it than that. All right. So against a open, are we going to set line 3s?
Yeah, this is a call.
Just call.
Yeah, all the time.
Pot.
This deep, we always want to try and set mine. He gives us a check. So is anyone taking a swing with the second worst pair you can have into this very dangerous board?
No, checking. He's still got nut advantage.
Okay, so let's hope for the 3 of hearts to roll off.
Check it.
It checks as the primary option. If you do want him to start betting here, you have to bet polarized, right? You need to generate folds. You can't make the mistake of betting too small here.
What do
So
you mean by bet polarized? What?
So polarized means you're going to bet big and you're going to bet rarely. So in this circumstance, when I'm faced with this, I only bet with the 3 of spades and the 3 of hearts, which block the most continuations here, right? When I'm going to take this type of polarized line, I'm going to check all the other combos of 3s, and I'm going to bet 3 of hearts and 3 of spades, which block the most continues that the opponent can have, right? But primarily checking is never going to be a mistake here. And we improve to 2 pair on the turn. Thus flush completes. Remember, the flush completing is good for the caller. Do we want to turn our hand into a bluff here or check?
I think we get to polarize here as well. I think we can polarize big or check.
Okay. So in the previous examples, we've kind of been looking at how to make a person priced into call with the flush draw. Here we want to price a person out of the flush draw. So if you're going to go, you got to pick a really big size. But I think it's going to be a very high frequency check.
Yeah, I guess it's checking.
Let's take a peek. Yeah, it checks a bit, but it does polarize and go for the bluff here. And you can see it's well represented with the 5.9 size, a bit of the over bet with the 8 size. But again, lots of chance to just make people fold with a slightly bigger than half pot bet. So again, when you're betting over 50%, you're disincentivizing flush draw from calling. But you take the check line and face a 1.5 big blind bet. Is it time to wave the white flag and give up? Or are you calling with a pair because you have a pair?
He's giving us a pretty good price here. We don't have to be right that often.
Yeah, I think this is a 0 equity mix.
So if you want to make this call, you want to have the 3 of spades in your hand. I think you're going to call with 3 of spades and fold without it. Yeah, you could call and lose 0.02 chips. You can raise and lose 0.02 chips, and you can fold. And if we take a look at the river strategy, we will take a look down here at pocket 3s. When you have 3 of spades and 3 of hearts, it is opting to raise and call some. When you have the 3 of spades and 3 of diamonds, it is opting to raise almost pure. And when you have the 3 of spades and 3 of clubs, it is also opting to raise. So the 3s that you want to call with involve the 3 of hearts. The hearts want to call. The other ones want to bluff. So a bit of a solver minutia based on the ace being a heart. Right? It wants to call with the hearts here. And bluff the other ones. Again, they're all very low EV decisions. And we were just up against the king anyways. It's going to be tough to make that king fold. King 10 offsuit. Low frequency, 3-bet, high frequency 3-bet, or just call.
I think
You
I
get to
agree.
3-bet a bit here, but I think it's mostly calls.
Every time 3-bet.
I think 70% 3-bet, 30% call.
Three bet.
It is other way, 70% call, 30%
Oh,
three bet. But to be honest, people like aggressive actions. People don't defend well enough against three bet. If you're over three betting here, it's a good, it's not bad. This is the right type of hand
It's a good
because you
league.
don't mind folding.
Peter,
It's a
say that
good
again. This is the right kind of hand to do what?
This is the right type of hand to three bet because you don't mind folding this one if you get four bets.
So
Right,
do you
the hand
often
more
use
like-
this spot? Oh, sorry.
As your hand gets better, king, queen, right? You don't want to fold it as much. You want to call it a little more.
So in game, do you often use this spot as a exploitative free bet?
Sorry, what was that, Larry?
So in game, do you often use this combo in this
Yes.
configuration as an exploitative free bet?
If you if you get three bet by me on the button, I am using king 10 off and king 8 suited, probably 100% here. Right? You just pencil that in because you can say, okay, if the flop comes king 10x, you can just snap fold out of turn. Because I got king 8 or king 10 a lot.
Yeah, well, that's important to hear. That's a diversion from the charts and makes total sense. Yeah. Thanks for telling us about that.
So here we luck into the world. We have a spade. We have top pair second kicker. We have a wet enough board to derive action. We are in a three bet pot.
That
Who
big,
wants to bet and how big?
very
Who wants
big.
to check? Very big. Like 8, half pot,
At least.
at least.
at least.
Do we want to bet big here? Because even though we have a good hand and we're against a condensed range and we need protection.
I think it's a high frequency 4.1.
I go with the white. How much is that?
8 big blinds,
Maybe
that's half pot.
jam.
Okay. Let's take a peek. It is
Yeah.
mixing heavily on these two.
Alright.
Again, slightly preferring the bigger bet here. It does have 34% checking. Is anyone checking this hand 1 out of 3 times? Nope,
Never.
ever.
Nada.
All right, good. And he just folds king 6. Yeah, I wonder if we bet smaller if he check raises us.
I wonder if it bets smaller more often at certain stack sizes,
Yeah,
like with
I mean,
this
here,
specific hand and texture.
yeah, here our king of spades weathers the turn a little bit. Like when we're not quite as afraid of the overcard and the spade coming because we have one of each, so that one's not so bad. Queen 6 suited. Call or fold?
This is
Or
a
3?
fold.
It is a fold. This is the bottom of range, so it squeaks in a bit of 3 betting here. But I am primarily folding. You can see if you do 3 bet this one against a solver that's going to respond appropriately, it's a 0 EV decision. Against population that doesn't expect you to do this, it's going to work. But you're also going to find yourself in some tough spots sometimes too with this hand. Queen 10 suit. Too good to 3 bet or 3 bet?
Very similar to Jack. Oh,
Oh, yep. Pure call.
Yeah.
All right. Jack 10-3. So here is a board we've kind of been waiting for tonight. Jack 10 connected all around the raising cards. So King Queen loves it. Ace Jack loves it. 10-9 likes it. Right? Queen 9 loves it. This is a very special board that we're going to take a little bit more of a look at, and we're going to particularly do it when it has a flush draw here as well. He comes out firing. Second pair, backdoor flush, backdoor straight.
Call.
Pure call.
Your call. Your call. It has some raises, and that's not a surprise to me. We're going to stop here and take a little bit of a look at the nature of Jack 10 specifically. His strategy here is heavily checked, and it has a little bit of small betting, a bunch of half pot betting, and a bit of over betting. Now, what about when we change this 3 to the 3 of hearts? All of a sudden, he loses all this small betting, and his response is primarily pot and over pot or check. And if we look at what's doing it, aces, kings, queens, best hands, ace jack for value, and then his bluffs, ace queen here, ace queen, king queen, king queen. Right? There's when you see a Jack 10-3 two-tone board, people tend to lose their mind. When he takes a check line, we wind up with the same type of thing, where we have some very big bets when we have kings and aces when we do flat those here, as well as Jack 10 here, and then lots of the half pot betting.
So this is our action when he checks. So
Yeah, so when he checks, this is what we wind up with on when we change the texture to have the flush draw included. Ranges are still pretty wide. So here we just call. Turn improves our equity by giving us a gut shot. And he checks. Who wants to bet? Who wants to check, and why?
I think it's mixing.
Okay.
is there an argument to be made that we get some
I think-
polarized
I
betting
think-
because we'd like to have some protection?
I think it may want to bet small here because the SPR is too low that when we hit the 9, it's very hard to get our stacks in. So maybe we want to bet like 3.5, maybe.
Remember, it isn't a 3-bet pot, so he still has maybe some aces and kings here too.
I think it was not 3-bet pot. It was we just
No,
called.
it's a call. You just called.
We flip.
It's not a 3-bet pot.
Yeah, I said because it's not a 3-bet pot, like he still has
Oh,
aces and kings here,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So he's gonna show up here sometimes with aces with the ace of spades here checking. But let's take a peek.
No,
When we do bet, we want
Pretty
to
bad.
use a polarized strategy because the board is connected. But again, primarily a check. But if we
that's
take
like
the bet,
really. I think it's very hard to find this big bets in position type of situations. That's what I've encountered a lot recently in my thinking.
Yeah.
It's like hard to find big bets being in position.
yeah, the key is on the turn here. Like if you want to find a lot of small bets on the flop, it's usually a really good idea. On the turn, like, and here's a spot where our hand wants to generate fold equity. Remember I talked about pricing the flush in and pricing the straight in? Well, here, because of the nature of the board with the straight being like a 9 is very well represented in his range. He has a lot of open-ended straights here. He has a lot of gut shots here. He has flush draws because we're not blocking flush draws. So he has a lot of draws here as well still that could have a marginal made component. Like he could have the 10 of spades with a flush draw.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do size up a little bit when we do that. So if we take that line, get a fold from king 4, right? Bet tried to turn the diamond, and when he didn't turn the diamond, he just gave up. Luckily, he didn't turn the diamond. He could have gotten in real trouble. Ace 10 suited. Does anyone want to 3-bet this?
I think this is
Sometimes.
largely a call. I think it wants to see a flop.
I think it's primarily calling in this stacked up. We
I'm
could
glad to
3-bet
hear
if
that.
we would be deeper.
This is going to want to call, right? This hand does not want to lose its equity by being 4-bet and having to call off. Remember when we were 4-bet, like I hate ace jack suited here, right? So I'm very inclined to not 3-bet ace jack suited here because it's a mixed spot. So if I flat here, I have ace jack a lot. And hey, jack on the flop. All right. 6-3 jack. He checks. We have ace high. We have no backdoor flush. It's hard for us to turn equity here, right? Outside of a king or a queen.
I think it's pretty, it may be checking due to the clubs in our hand, but I think it's pretty much betting range in a lot of spots. This isn't really a board that we would be much worried about, so I think I would like in-game probably like bet this too, but it may check a bit more maybe with the clubs.
I think this is a check. We wanna realize the equity of our ace high.
Bet it small.
I'm always checking this.
Yeah, the ace definitely wants to show down. It's currently winning a lot. But does this board want to range bet?
I think it's probably checking a lot for the same reason you wanna be not 3-betting it. You don't wanna get blown off your equity.
Oh, sorry, I thought, in my head, I thought, I thought that it's a 3-bet pot.
No,
That's why I was betting flop.
Right, yeah.
So when we look at our aces, the aces that want to bet the least are these ones here in the middle. These ones
Yeah, okay,
here
now it makes sense a lot the other way.
are betting for value with the best pair and best kicker, and ace queen as betting for value because they can get called by lots of worse aces. And then all of these ones have some straight interaction or have a pair and want to be able to make us fold with ace 9, ace 10, and ace 8 when we are in the cutoff. Right? To make
Is it
hard
betting
for-
with clubs more now? Can you show, is it betting with clubs more now?
here?
Yeah. The exact opposite, yeah.
Yep,
So Peter,
because
your argument for betting with the wheel, the suited wheel aces is that obviously you got shot with the ace 4 suited and the ace 2 suited, so that's why it's betting more.
Well, you also just get better aces to fold, better hands to fold.
yeah, these ones want these guys to stay in the pot, right?
So it's kind
Because
of a
they are
merging
winning.
semi bluff.
Yeah, and when you bet
Yeah.
with ace 9 or ace 10, a guy's never gonna fold ace jack 3. So just wind up kind of giving him some chips.
He's gonna have range and not advantage there a lot too, right? So
All right, we face this micro bet. So
Give it a micro call.
rolling along.
I mean, can't fold to this bet.
That's right. So when we look at defending, we look at, we start from the top down and we defend all of our jacks, then all of our sixes, then all of our fives, pocket pairs down to twos. And against this size bet, still have to defend our ace highs, a lot of them.
Wait,
So-
on the turn, we're supposed to defend that hand right here?
Yeah, I went check, check on the
Mhm.
flop.
Oh, when check on the flop. Okay, because I was like, are
Yep.
we calling two barrels with that? No, okay, good. I'm not.
Now he gives us the big fat juicy river bets.
So I think with a paired board now, which reduces its frequency of sets, sixes, I think we get some hero calls here.
Yeah, I'm pretty tempted to hero call this also. Every draw that he starts barreling on the turn bricked.
So low frequency call or high frequency call?
So let's think about this. This isn't the most attractive combo, obviously. I don't know how good ace ten here is.
Yeah.
I'd say it's low. Yeah, low frequency call. I think there's better ace X to call with.
50-50.
A mix.
Yeah, it's the kind of the point of indifference.
Mm-hmm. And if we look at like the lower ace X, it becomes a much more attractive option, I think. So ace ten is making 0.01 while ace eight, which is a more relevant blocker, and you're unblocking his bluffs. It's making 13 times that.
Yeah.
Conversely,
Or blocking value.
yeah, the little guys. So ace eight is worth as much as ace three is here.
Yep, it's the same as a pair.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then same on the side here, right? Ace
So-
queen, ace 10, ace 9, all struggling here.
So the ace, well, ace five's a pair. Ace deuce is pretty valuable.
Pocket deuces just as valuable as ace 10.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
But a lot of very low EV spots here to make this call. But we find the spot where he has to go for it and goes for it big.
Right, his hand makes a lot of sense. He picks up a gutty and bricks, follows through. Yeah, I think we just fold this.
Fold
Yeah.
makes sense.
I threw a few in here just to make sure that you guys just weren't.
Yeah, you gotta keep them honest, right?
All right, king at the bottom of range.
So. I think we do three bet some of these. I think it's gonna pull more from like the eights and nines. Though. Maybe
Okay,
not with the
so-
kings.
I think this is a fold.
Not folding
Let's
for
take-
sure. I like three betting. I like three betting in game.
So it is three betting some.
So again, here's another one of those examples where it's a zero EV option against a computer who's gonna play really well. Against an opponent who's not going to understand and react to three bet bluffs. This is gonna be a little bit better.
So
But
you
again-
find this at a higher frequency than next in game, Peter?
No, if I have king 4 as the bottom of my range, I am probably not defending this. I'm probably pure folding it. Right, but I will be three betting king 6 here, king 7, ace 6 here against this guy. Three betting. I'll be doing a lot of both of those.
I mean, like, if people are, like, sometimes when we look the fold to three bets, if someone has like 100, this, I can't see ever folding this, ever.
The other element, and we talked about this earlier a little bit, is the play of the blinds. The more passive the blinds are, and the less likely they are to squeeze you, the more likely that hand can call or can three bet. right? But if you get your aggressive blinds, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble calling off with the bottom of range there.
Yep.
Octopuses.
You could probably 3-bet this sum versus the cutoff.
I like calling.
A lot of.
Calling's a reasonable response for sure.
Definitely a spot where they can be 3-bet and called. I call eights a lot here.
I do too. Interesting question is versus a 4-bet, how do you handle this hand?
Yeah, this is the bottom of my fold range.
Like
Right, I call
depending on
nines.
depending on how active someone is with their 3-bets. I mean, for the looser ones would shove, but but usually they're not the loose ones.
All right, so the cutoff leads with a nice big fat bet.
This is a
Into a
very
paired
polarizing
board.
bet on a paired board.
Yeah.
So he either has the nuts or nothing, but I don't think we get to fold eights yet. I think we have to call.
Call, yeah.
Crawling one. What turn card is going to be good for you then if you want to call with eights here, other than an eight?
Nothing. Maybe a
A
nine.
9, a 9's okay.
Nine,
Six.
Okay.
So
A
like
10's
often in this,
honestly not the end of the world
often in this
either.
spot, like there are like, yeah, exactly calling. So what I was wanting to say is like, if we have lower pairs here, like fours and like threes, we probably 3-bet this on the flop for sure to get like better pairs to fold. But yeah, like not with eights. But no, it's not doing it.
So yeah,
Okay,
you can
that's-
see anything below the 7, it folds. The eights, it particularly wants to call because when we have 2 8s, we block the combos that go with a 7. This is
Yeah.
This is what's thought of as the upper dangler effect. So you block
Yeah.
his 78 suited. So, and even his
Oh,
10
actually, there is some raising. So yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like this, like see the 6s and 5s, like even like if we have someone sometimes in game, even like the even the more like bottom pairs, they're like it's good to re-raise them, but not like
Yeah.
8s and 7s. They're too strong.
If you look at this hand, if you want to raise with kings and queens here, right, and jacks, you have to have bluffs. And you generally start bluffing from the bottom up. And so it just finds these to the ace-6, the ace-5, the 6, the 5. Because the 6 interacts with the 7 a little bit, we block the 76, chooses these ace-6s to try and balance out these kings and queens that really, really want to raise here.
Yeah,
So the preferred raise size is a click bet essentially, right? Just the 2x.
It's a click.
Yep. Oh, he sizes down 1/3 pot.
That's scary.
Peter, can we look at the big bet on the flop, please? Is there?
Sure.
We already passed it. Don't worry about it.
That's okay. We could go back and take a
yeah.
look at his range and see what he uses this
Yeah, his
5-9
big
size.
bet, I was.
It's gonna be like your weak,
Thank you.
vulnerable top pair, your vulnerable over pairs. Things that connect with the 7.
Yeah.
So he's using it
Sevens.
a little bit with lots of different things. He's
Mhm.
using it with a lot of 8s and a lot of 9s that are in between the 10 and the 7. He's using it with some of his 7s, right? Because he's got a lot of 7s in range here too. So, and then he's using it with some of his overpair values, kings and queens and jacks as well. So it's just kind of spread throughout his whole range. And he's primarily using the half pot size. But
Okay.
he does have a lot of value that are a 7 and then a lot of bluffs that also get to use this size then too.
Yeah,
So
so one
against
of the
this one-
things, yeah, one of the things what's very interesting here. So like, I'm very tempted to like start folding here actually, but like if it would be deeper, like let's say like 100 deep, I'm always calling it, and it all comes down to like being more driven for the nut advantage to get the 8, and like when we're very deep, it's like more valuable. But here there's like no point to try to get the 2 out there here. So I would always like mostly fold here, probably, I guess.
Well, you're 4% to 8, so I don't know how much that you factor into the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're 100 big blinds deep here, like there's 100 left. You know, the 8's going to be tough on the river because I mean, sometimes he just has aces or 10s here too, right? But 8s do cooler as 7, so I am primarily folding here. It is calling, raising, and folding,
Yeah,
all
so
at
can you-
relative indifference.
Can you actually go and like look this up? It would be very interesting to see if you put this 100 deep, is it calling? And like also like from what depth it starts to like make this calls. It will be very interesting to see like with 8, very educational also.
Right
10
now,
7.
we're essentially against it 40. And the question is, what happens when we go in the same text to 100?
Here,
So that's also like one of the, yeah, exactly. It's calling much more, but not pure. That's not
yeah,
pure.
like it's mixing here, and like remember his bet on the flop when you're a little deeper too, right? Like his size ups are going to be a little bigger. When he
Yeah.
polarizes the flop, like you also you have some more over bets and stuff like that too. It's just going to be a little harder to get here, but when he takes this line with 8s, you can get in there a little bit.
Wait, can you show the EVs again?
0.83, so it's earning most of a chip, right? Whereas when you're short stacked here, it's not earning most of a chip. It's losing point. It's losing 1 penny. So it's
Mhm.
still a plus EV decision when you're 100 big blinds deep, but
Yeah,
not
for
when-
sure.
So
What's this holding here?
sorry, what was that, Larry?
Sorry, so if we fold, just, I'm curious what his combo is going to be, and that he's going to polarize
curious?
and bet down on the turn one.
So his range, if we take a look at what he's doing with this, if that's what we're looking for.
What is this, like jacks, queens, kings, maybe?
So he's taking this line with a lot of aces that turn,
Mhm.
Okay,
the new overpair. He's checking a lot with 10s here now, right? He's taking much more passive line. He's still here with all these 7s, which get to value bet as well. And then if he's got all this value with the ace and with the 7 to take this side, he just gets to find bluffs at split frequencies with every diamond that he has, right? And all the single diamonds, right? So he takes the jack of diamonds and turns it into a bluff here, right? And he takes the 10 of diamonds and he's bluffing. Oh, the 10 of diamonds is value, but yeah, the jack of diamonds, the queen of diamonds, the jack of diamonds, the 9 of diamonds, right? So yeah, he just gets here and turns any hand that has a diamond in it into a bluff. That's all matched with either an ace or a jack because he has just so much value here now, which puts our 8s in a lot of trouble because yeah, his bluffs are flush draws and overcards to pocket 8s. So pocket 8s is really going to struggle here. It likes that it has the 8 of diamonds blocking some of the value, but that also means he has less flushes and has more aces and more 7s when we have the 8 of diamonds. So not a great spot. Not sure to hit a 7. All right, Ace nine. Anyone three betting, folding, calling?
Going next here.
I
You can three
remember
bet
this
this.
We
being
get
a
some
three
free
bet,
bets
but
here.
this is one of the three bets I'm never making, and I don't know why.
I love
Um,
three betting this.
Honestly, this is like one of the bread and butter combos of 40 big blind poker. It's very easy to play.
We'll take a look here and I'll show you this here. This 8, 9, 10 here with the ace. And then you go 7, 6, 5 here with the easy thing to
That's the
remember.
funny thing. That's the funny thing. I'm always finding the king combos, but somehow, like I've played a long time, and I don't three bet these offsuit, and just like a few weeks ago, that's also one of the things I've thought about, because like when I've seen the sessions with Louis, these have come up, and I'm like, why am I never making these ones?
Well, Louis is a master of finding three bets. He finds three bets in all kinds of good spots. And he's been really helpful. And like, if you think of it here, these ones are going for your best value. These ones are protecting your range. These ones are your bluffs. And then
Wait, I'm
these
gonna
ones just continue
I'm gonna find a Louis line right now. It's like something like, think about it, can come a 9. It can come a 9.
Just flop two nine.
But
Flop
an
two
8
nines and
can
an
come.
ace.
A diamond?
So 50% of the time, we're 100% of the time raising three bet. Let's go. All right. We have a three bet pot. It is rainbow, slightly connected, lots of straight draws, but no locked up equity. We have three bet. What do we want to do with this ace nine?
I think we always
So
see that here corner. Not always, but largely see that here corner.
yeah,
Or-
I like c betting too. It's good that it's rainbow. But
Or,
This is-
or eight and why?
This is gonna be like a range betty type spot.
It is going to be a very high frequency three bet. But sell me on why you would bet four or why you would bet eight. Who wants to have a go here?
Man, I screwed this up. Like I basically range bet small here. I think it's a
Okay.
function of the high card. So we got like a neutral card, a low card and a high card. Kinda makes me wanna go smaller.
Okay.
If it was like, let's say, jack, queen, like a red jack, maybe I would go half pot more.
I like 4.1.
4.1 is the right end. So here the board is not connected enough that you have to apply a lot of pressure to get folds because there's not going to be as many high equity draws.
If you,
There's
to take a,
76 here, but how often does he have 76?
right,
And 10 jack is still just a gut shot, right? And 10
Yeah.
9, those are all just still gut shots. So you don't have to size up to make draws fold because the draws are thin here.
yeah, and to take another Louis Philippeism, it's, there's only one real key card for us. So,
wait, what?
Oh, the Louis Philippe key card system. We go back to our
I haven't
notes.
heard that one. What is the key card system?
So-
we're making a video on it, Romano. It'll be out whenever Louis decides to make the video. Help me make the video.
All right, so the key card idea goes back to how our ranges interact with one another.
Mhm.
And so if we're the button and we are three betting queen 9, jack 9, 10 9, and 9 7, and ace 9, and we don't have any of these nines, when we are in a line where we're in a called pot, we just don't have a lot of these nines. But you know what he has? All these nines. He has all these offsuit nines.
Oh, yeah, the key card is probably basically the idea of the opponent's bottom of the range, right?
No, a key card is an opponent's card that he has that you don't have in range. So for
Okay,
example,
okay.
if you look at the range interaction of the sixes, our
Mhm.
opponent
Yeah, yeah,
has
yeah.
all these sixes. We
Mhm.
just don't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have all those sixes.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
yeah.
And then there's some heuristic ideas that Louis goes with that, where when a key card pairs, you're more likely to barrel.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
3-bet pot, we bet small. Now the straight 9-10, which is improbable, comes in. But a lot more marginal made hands also exist with draws that we don't block. Is it time to give up, or do we double down? Remember, we're at a stack to pot ratio of 1 here almost.
So that's an interesting one. I think we since we have the 9 here, and I feel like we're continuing because this jack actually doesn't improve so much of his floats, I think. Even though it's not so like the best card, but it's not like, yeah, it's not wonderful at the same time.
Okay. If you want to continue, how big do you want to continue?
Probably like, I think jamming.
You want to jam a 3-bet pot with ace high? All right, I like it. That's pretty spicy.
I mean, it's SPR1, and like, if we're using a size here, I think it's mostly jamming or giving up.
I agree with that. I think it's going to be a very high frequency jam or very high frequency check because we have the ace. If we had king 9, I think we will bet, and with ace 9, I think we're going to check.
Peter, is that because with the ace, we're blocking his ace floats, which we want him to have?
Well, ace high is just winning here sometimes. Very
It's
rarely.
about equity then.
No, I think ace high is not winning in a 3-bet pot here, and that's the reason we are still betting it.
Let's take.
You don't have showdown. You don't have much showdown with this here, I think.
Yeah, so it doesn't
But
choose
I may
the
be
all-in
wrong.
size, but it does polarize largely between checking and betting medium here. Let's take a
Okay, that's very interesting.
So I think the kings are going to bet pretty much pure, and the aces are going to mix a lot more checks here. So when he checks, our ace 8, which is middle pair, pure
But
check.
it's interesting. It's interesting. The 9s are pretty active.
So if you look at the hands that are here, all the spades are betting. So that's the driving factor. Blocking the backdoor flush, the value of it, you're turning the ace 9 into a bluff. The rest of them are largely checking. There is some betting modes too. So if you're betting here, it's just fine. But the driving factor that you want to have is you want to have the spade.
Can you show the EV difference between jamming and betting this correct amount?
Yeah, so all in is 3.99 and checking is 4.75. So it's 3/4 of a chip more to check than to jam here. But with the spade, checking is 518 and jamming is 505. It's much more of an even EV decision with the ace of spades. And with the 9 of spades, it's a little bit worse, right? Because you just
what did we have at or I don't remember exactly.
We did not have the spade.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Which is
so
why it checks a little more.
Yeah, it's not so. Having the club here is also like not so, but
yeah. So here we get the river, we get the ace of spades. The flush completes. I mean,
I don't think that we're I don't think we get the value bet here. With our bad pickup.
Problem is we don't get any
Plays.
better to much call us here, I think. So I think checking is. We can only make ace king fold, but yeah. Just
So-
it's better to check.
Well, I mean, can we get called by 10 jack with the 10 of spades here? Right? Can we get a thin value bet, 14?
I may be using value, but I don't find a value bet.
It is pure checking. This is a week in my game. I very often go for this bet size. Right here. When I
And you're-
river this,
What are you
and if I
targeting?
if I get jammed on, I just fold. And I'm
Wow.
hoping to get called by a queen or a jack.
Yeah, that's too thin.
Can I ask you a hypothetical here? Because we were talking about the flush draws.
Sure.
Thanks. So if we're holding, let's just figure out what this river is in this drill. If we're holding the ace of spades on the turn and we bet blocking their value and they call, if we take the half size bet and they call, and we get 2 of spades on the river, do we then bluff jam because we're blocking his nut flush?
Let's take a look at that. I
That's
think we will.
probably the idea too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Was
I
it
think
correct?
if we're continuing, we're never folding.
Was the question if we have the ace of spades and a 2 of spades comes on the river?
Yes.
Yeah, like when we
Bluff
have
jam.
the like on the turn, instead of it going check, check, if we take the half pot betting. And he calls. And the river is the 2 of spades.
The problem is the SPR is 0.5, right?
He checks. And
Very high frequency.
all our spades are doing it.
So,
Ace nine.
so any ace of spades is not bluff jam, right?
Yeah. Ace king doesn't do it. I guess ace king is the best unpaired hand, has showdown value, so it doesn't do it with ace king. But yeah, ace 3, oh, you don't have that because it's
I mean, they had the flush draw anyway.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
interesting. I didn't know you I didn't know you don't do that with ace king, but all your other aces. Like I guess it makes sense because it does have some showdown value, but I feel like against population, it's like I don't know. Feels like it's almost never good.
An ace
So
of
you
spades
don't-
is a pure bluff card, yeah.
you don't do it with ace king here because he can have worse ace high flush draws. And you're just beating him. Yep.
Thanks for taking a look.
No problem. And he had a straight draw that bricked. And was good.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, probably, the turns, I think, there, it just works better with the interaction of the opponent's calling range there. So it's better to use the half size there, but I've seen this jam so many in cash scenarios, so that I'm probably my bias there.
Yeah, cash is a bit of a different animal, right? Like I was
Yeah.
watching my friend Crazy Sixes his cash stream last week, and I was
Okay.
surprised how it's at the top of your range and the bottom of your range and check middle a lot.
Yeah, a lot, yeah, for sure.
Do you think a
It's
lot
very,
of
very-
JL's advice is cash game? I mean, what a lot of the marginal made hand, like when you play deep stack, you don't want to get money in. Versus when you have 40 big blinds, it's okay to get money in and probably even
Yeah.
recommended. When you're 100 big blind deep, it's like, whoa, please don't do that with a lot of hands.
Yeah.
All right, king jack offsuit. Candidate for 3-bet or call.
I think this is one of your exploitative always 3-bet hands.
I like it.
Let's do it,
Yeah.
3-bet.
3-bet this one and call the suited one.
Yes. 3-bet it, 3-bet it, 3-bet it. Find it. Ooh. Marginal made hand on a double Broadway board. Oh, my fingers are burning. So the marginal made hand wants to check. The 3-bet range wants not to check. What are we going to do?
It's
Point one.
probably certainly betting some part of jacks here, so probably one part is king jack, probably with like the smaller sizing, but it's probably like not going pure, so it's like checking and betting small here, I guess.
I want to say it's mixing between 4.1 and 8.15 because there's 2 Broadway cards and it's a 3-bet pot. And queen jack off is definitely one of our 3-bet bluffs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think
Jack and 4.
I think it's gonna have very low check. I think the check is gonna be moved to this size. So I think it's gonna have some of this, it's gonna have some of this, and it's gonna have a little of this. We'll take a peek.
No check, yep.
It does have some checks still, but it does primarily use this size here, right? But again, this size is also not a problem too.
Do you
What's
use
the-
a tiny size in game? Is that something that you've incorporated into your strategy?
10% betting is definitely a thing because when you bet like 10%, the person has to defend with 90% of their range. So it just makes it very hard for them to fold. And this is a hand that benefits from it a lot because you can wait to see if you want to check the turn or bet big on the turn. Right? So this type of hand, this type of spot, I'm going to polarize on the turn a little more in a 3-bet pot.
I could see that. The one issue I have with a tiny bit like that in position is that now you've reopened the betting with what largely looks like a marginal hand, and he has the opportunity now to check raise.
Mhm. But if you're like, what happens when you flop pocket queens here? You bet this size and he has to defend 90% of range against the top set.
And yeah, that
I
check
want to
raise is a
counter,
two
I want to
true. That's a very
counter
good
this
point.
thought by also, I want to counter this thought also by like, when we are using very small sizings, we're on very closely often betting almost range. So we're not having only our small hands, we are having very strong hands too. So if he comes over the top, we also get into situations where we have very strong hands and they're going to come over the top. So there's no point to be afraid that they go over the top. Sometimes we just don't have the better hands.
Yeah, so here's a perfect example. The sets of jacks and sets of queens primarily want to use this size because they want to keep people in. And so when we have hands as strong as this using it, we just get to use it throughout our range a little more. And this you can see is clearly a spot where we're just betting pretty much every hand in range, right? Except for this middling ace, right? The worst aces
Yeah,
want to
see,
bet.
it's very
best
interesting.
aces wanna
Also,
bet.
the king jack is one of the few ones that have checks a bit more there than the other ones. But in terms of board, everything is almost like betting everything.
It looks
Yeah.
like a range bet small. That's interesting.
Yeah, you're just like, it's a 3-bet pot. And so you just
Yeah,
want
just
to bet
Don't
here.
bet sixes.
I know I really don't have that one or like 10% bet on the flop sizing in my game. I only really have it like on the river as a block bet, but
If you want to start like using it, I would recommend like start using it first in like short stack situations. implement into your short stack game. This one.
Well, that's
is
usually when the
sometimes-
big blind bet comes into play.
Yeah,
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 Also,
yeah,
certain textures where the correct bet is one big blind. It's not.
yeah, yeah.
Usually it's closer to quarter pot or a third, but then there's certain textures where one big blind is like the nut. So because you can bet more of the
Yeah,
range.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in a single raise pot, like where it's a monotone board, say queen jack 3 all spades, a one big blind sizing is really good too. Right? It makes the opponent defend a lot. It's just hard to weather. So we get this 3 on the turn. It's a spade. We have a spade. Do we continue betting one more time? Remember, we went for the very small bet. So if we're going to bet, I think it's going to be in this range. Do we want to bet?
So the thing is that the real question is, do we want to turn our hand into a bluff? And I think the answer is no. So I don't see us like barreling this. So I think the safe road is checking here mostly.
Yeah, I think the 3 is kind of a non-equity shifting card. I think we might check to realize our equity.
So if we have a card of the backdoor flush, I feel that we want to bet here. But we'll take a peek.
If we have a pair, we don't want to. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna try this thing. Right? When we block the continuations from the backdoor flush, it's going to want to bet here.
Yeah, but usually what I have seen is like when you have a pair, you don't want to block the continuous. But like if you block the continuous that you get value from. So you don't want to have a spade and bet it when you have a pair. You much more want to have a club there so that all the like interacting members can call you. That's
but
how I usually construct it.
When we have a spade in our hand, it's less likely that the flush is going to come in.
Yeah, I
So-
understand, but what we don't want to block flushes when we have value. Why do you want to block draws when you get value from them? If you're betting, you don't want to block their like draws.
Yeah, we don't want to block their draws, but we want to block their draw hitting. Right? Like the pot's already a little bit bloated because of the nature of it being a 3-bet pot.
So we want to block getting cooler.
So let's take a look. We went check, but our strategy in general, and we can take a look. King 10 is too good. It's open-ended here.
Is it-
we have?
Is it also betting really big because it doesn't want to cap our range? Does it have anything to do with that?
We are uncapped. We still have sets of queens and jacks and kings and aces here. So all these value bets let us bluff a lot. And we had king jack off, right? Yeah, we had king jack off. So if we look at the king jack.
So yeah, see here's the exactly like when we have like when we look the ones that bet pure, they're never having spades. You don't want to block. You don't want to have spade when you have a pair.
Yeah, these ones are betting pure. The jack of spades bets a little, and the king of spades always checks. So the better your spade, more you check here. So yeah, and unblocking the flush draw, these ones are betting pure and betting mixed sizing. Again, lots of small, lots of medium bets here.
Yeah, I would never find medium one.
Continue. Wow, we get a gift on the river. So the turn went check. It's a 3-bet pot. There's pot and a half here. Who wants to bet what side?
I think we're jamming.
Yeah.
Never
So-
using any other size here. I
So,
think.
if we got pot, we got box it on the river.
Maybe 150 is, oh, actually, again, like, okay, maybe there's like a bit, maybe there's also the 17 here, but in deep, there's, in deep, I'm very sure that it's all in, all in only, but
How many big
But-
blind is in the pot?
There's 19 in the pot and we have 31 behind. So there's pot and a half behind. And you can kind of have the option of betting the pot or all in, I think. Is
So
your
the
two
way I would
bets.
think about this, and tell me if this is off base, I'd say.
I don't know if a queen,
What,
I think a queen doesn't even have to call, you're all in. I think you can go 17, then a queen has to call.
yeah,
I
I was gonna
mean-
say, I'd target a queen here, so what is the largest size that a queen is gonna call? Weak queen probably, because we didn't get 4-bet with queens, or we didn't get 4-bet with ace queen suited, so I think 17 probably is the right size.
For me, this is our our second best value hand, right? We only are here with pocket queens as a better hand. And we only lose the pocket threes, so I am stuffing the turkey. We'll go with a little bit, see what I wind up with. And it is splitting.
It's splitting, yeah. Just don't bet small. Because you're in
greedy, I'm jamming.
position, yeah,
like my
jam
jamming.
makes
I
makes
feel
sense
like
as
my
well.
jamming.
Jam is good as well. Both are good.
Both
People
are
don't
just-
respect me in Ontario. I'm jamming.
Yeah. So it's mixing with its jacks as well. It is betting all or none in a fairly high mixed spot. So I don't
I find it
think
interesting
one of
that
the
the-
big ones you're betting.
I find it interesting that with the nuts, queens here, it's not jamming. Is that because we're blocking their value?
Yeah, it's too hard for them to call with a queen, and they
Yeah.
don't, and they wouldn't take this passive a line with a jack. Like they would bet a jack on the river a lot. So
So because we're blocking the queen X, we don't. jam.
yeah. Right. And to be honest, if you bet half pot and he has a jack here, he's probably just shoving it all in. And queens are gonna get paid. So queens are hoping to get called by like pocket eights or pocket nines here when you have the queens full. The super nuts. All right. I think we'll do one or two more and then take a look. Ace 7. Does this make the 3-bet range or is it a fold?
Next
It's
hand.
right under the bottom.
I like folding. I
That's
like
right.
folding.
Find your king 7, king 6, king 5 suited to bluff and fold this. It is ace 8 and up. Ace 8, ace 9, ace 10. Find your 3-bet bluffs. King 7, king 6, king 5 suited. Find your 3-bet bluffs. Ooh. Call or raise
This
for
is a
value.
pure call because in a 3-bet pot, you're gonna have some reverse implied odds, and this one's supposed to see a flop.
Also
Yeah.
miserable if you get 4-bet.
It sucks to get 4-bet with flop.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely monotone board. This is our best unpaired hand. Does it want to bet? Does it want to check?
We're certainly betting this one.
Yeah,
Alright.
I mean, it doesn't have so much benefit to checking either. Like, so just bet. Like, I think our range bet. Well, I don't know. With the ace on the board, it actually makes the monotone less. Just range. I mean, well, maybe not. I'd range bet. I mean, I like betting this combo. It doesn't have much benefit of checking.
I think if we
I
do that here,
think-
it's the tiny size.
Yeah,
think
tiny
when-
size.
Couple of
Snack
tiny-
size.
Dooley, what are you thinking? Are you going for a
Yeah, no,
small
just-
smack
just-
McFlurry?
Just the exact same, just a range bet. Doesn't matter what's in my hands. I'm betting here. Huh?
I guess
Pure check.
I was right. The fucking monotone with the ace on the board is a much
You-
different texture.
You
Fuck, I-
nailed
Really?
it.
This button versus cutoff though is a weird is a spot I'm understudied in, and I need to be studying it, but I actually don't study it as much, so it's good.
That's so weird. I thought monotone boards.
Yeah, but
Does the ace high
monotone,
really change it?
yeah, because you
on.
have less ace high flushes in your range, so a lot of your flushes are ace highs.
Mm,
And the other thing is, this is our best unpaired hand. So if you're gonna find a check, you find it with king, queen, and you just get after it with king 4 and king 5 and king 6.
Yeah, it's definitely not a range bet. Do not follow my advice.
well, that's what I thought too, right? So. I guess that's the leak in my game too.
So this is similar to the river action we saw with the ace king a couple hands ago.
Why is poker such a hard game, except for when you just are in a bounty tournament and there's fucking, you already have $52 in bounties. And we're not even in the money yet. Then it's just easy. You just gotta win your all-ins.
Yeah, just win your flips.
Yeah.
So we're looking at all of the flops.
So this is all of the flops that could possibly go on. GTA Wizard has it in this chart form, which is nice. And we'll take a look here for a few minutes, right? Double ace flops is just a lot of locked up equity, so it's only betting small, really. But as you start to go down, you see we have a lot of polarized betting on two Broadway hands, particularly this ace with a king, ace with a queen.
Wait, so this is all of the button versus cutoff flops?
This is the buttons betting strategy on all flops that can possibly happen.
So button doesn't have much betting.
Yeah, so you can see overall button is betting.
There's
is
not much
checking
range bets, I
50%.
mean.
Yeah. So the type of range bets that you get is down here at the bottom of the ace pool, right? Where you see ace 3-2. That's the board that you bet the most because the lack of interaction with the 3 and the 2. So your last, you just bet. When we go up to our specific flop, if we look here, ace 8-3 is so disconnected that if you don't have a wheel draw and you have to be in here with 2-4, 4-5, 2-5, like you just don't see people in here with that part of the range very often. So this is the most dry board that you can have, except for the flush. So this one is kind of going to play like a pair is more important than the flush draw in this one. Just a bit of a really weird spot when we look at ace 8 deuce. And where's ace 8-3? Ace 8-4? Oh, I missed it. There's ace 8-3 right here. Oh, it's taking us to it. I made a horrible mistake. But yeah, that's the exact board we have. That's the exact strategy we saw. Back here, we go to this graph. And so here, we find a ton of checking in a spot where normally there is a fair amount of betting on monotone boards. But this one is just so dry that it's hard to get there.
So if it was a king high monotone board, like it was king 8-3 of spades, would you say that would be a range bet where you're like rarely checking?
No, it's still so disconnected, and that one's even more disconnected because it disconnects from the wheel. If this was 9-8-3, you're going to see a lot more betting.
just because it would be unblocking.
Yeah, the 9 and the 8 is very good for
Yeah.
the cutoff and not so good for the button's calling range.
Okay.
The button still has a lot of calls with it, but like, it's not, yeah, the cutoff has a lot more there, but again, the flush draw is also kind of.
But the
overwhelming too.
funny thing with the population is like, in game, like there are many places where like even the 8s is like checking as a cutoff, and population is not like doing it. So they're like, if they're like range betting, they're like ace boards and they're checking, they never have an ace. So you can bet it themselves and make them fold. So that's like not solver approved.
So here we check and we get the turn card of the 5, completing the improbable deuce 4 of spades wheel. We have our best
Doesn't-
unpaired hand still. Are we going to showdown? Or are we trying to push them off?
Just check it back. We don't have deuce 4 neither, do they?
He is best unpaired hand, right? Again, we have king 4. Get out. Well, surely we must bet for value, right?
I mean,
Such a lovely card. I really like that card.
I feel like we're only gonna get called. Like, are we really gonna get called by worse kings?
Do you think he
Like-
checks an 8 or an ace 3 times?
No, but would he check an under? Would he check pocket 2s 3 times? I mean, that's only like, I guess that's like not that many combos. It's only 3 combos, but
I think it's not
Under
calling. the
pairs?
pocket.
I think I am wanting to bet for value.
So you're betting for value, get called by queen X or
I'm-
king with the worst kicker.
I am looking for someone to call me with a king and a spade. So king 9 with the 9 of spades.
Do it. I've been
I actually like that. I actually half bot from maybe.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
It doesn't work.
So previous to my my earlier statement where I said I bet for value too thin on the river too often, I'd like to work and say that I'm working on that part of my range problem. And
But Peter, I
that,
think there's value in it probably against population where you're not.
It's still a
gonna
plus
see
EV. It's still plus
any
EV. It's
check-
just not the most
check raise
EV.
bluffs.
oh yeah.
I think the other mistake that you made was a much bigger one than that one.
You're still plus EV to make your bet. It's just not the biggest EV, right?
Yeah, right. You just run into a guy who has a 5 here sometimes and he calls. You lose 3 chips. So, but yeah, it's printing 2.84 big blinds. Let's go. And look at the guy has a 5. All right,
this guy.
this guy. All right. Uh-oh, my fingers are burning.
Your favorite hand.
Let's go.
Here's it up.
I actually really
22%
like
of the
king
spot,
7 and king 8
100%.
suited.
Yeah. Oh, now
Yeah,
This,
Easy fold.
next hand.
when you
This-
3-bet bluff, do not punt off a stack.
I mean, don't call off with ace 5 suited.
Yeah. I have looked this guy in the eye so many times and said, "You're so full of it." Oh, you have pocket queens. Okay. Gross.
Yay, we were blocking it out, so.
Yeah.
Man, I
Alright.
should show you the type of stuff people 4-bet me in the Ontario pool.
Well, that's Ontario pool's not fair. I just got a couple buddies playing in that too, and it's just ridiculous. It's like playing against 4-year-olds.
Try to
Oh no,
block
I was
quick
saying they
series,
just don't respect me because of how much I 3-bet.
And we saw some HUD work. Dooley had a little bit of a video. If you guys are on the Discord site, I think Louis put it up. A bit of database analysis, so that was really good. I was, while he was doing yours, I had my poker tracker 4 up, and was looking at mine. All right, 10-8.
I think this is the flat.
I think it's a 3-bet because it's on the bottom of
Like,
the suited version of the bottom of the cut. I mean, of the cutoff's opening range. I mean, one below the cutoff's opening range.
I think it's gonna mix.
Yeah, I mean, mixing is
Yeah, it-
always
it's
the answer
always-
when you're
yeah.
not sure. When you're not sure, it's a mix, you know.
Yeah, I
Dude,
think it's gonna be primarily a call, but I think you
if
could
I
get a
have
little spicy.
kings and another person has aces and another person has ace king and the fucking ace hits, that's a 1-outer, right?
Yeah,
You know what? Rigged.
10-8. So this is the one kind of unicorn in the field, right? It's all 3-betting all around it. So yeah, it
God.
hangs on. So if you're thinking you can 3-bet this, you're in the right neighborhood. You're just at the wrong address.
Wait, so
That's-
what am I doing? I'm 3-betting king 8 and jack 8.
Yeah, we took a look and like if you take a look, 10-8 is the only one that doesn't have some
I
frequency
mean,
of 3
that
bets here.
actually makes sense because 10-8 can flat pretty well. Oh, it doesn't like king 8 to 3-bet. It likes the queen 8 and jack 8 because it really wants to maximize.
Yeah, these 3 it wants to 3-bet here. And then you think of it this way. If you call with your queen and your jack, you 3-bet your 10, your 9,
Damn,
and
that's
your
a
8.
very low 3-betting range.
And then you 3-bet these lower kings. The offsuit aces, and then the lower kings that go right after it. So this is a call. Continue on. Paired board, and he comes out with a lead. 1/3 pot.
So sad we don't
wrap
have
around the 9.
Easy fold, I think. I don't give a fuck.
So we've got 1 over and a backdoor straight and no spades. And his sizing is a 3rd. I think we probably mix, we fold and call, never raise.
So
It's probably
primarily
never
a fold.
falling.
Is anyone finding a raise here?
Maybe, but the 9 is good for him, so I'm
Okay.
mostly folding.
Do we have many 4s? I don't think so.
Yeah. So the 9 is a really good card for him here because we 3-bet some of our 9s here. So I am going to fold. But it also calls, it raises a bit too. I was raising much when I raised, but since it's primarily a fold for me, if I make a low.
You are raising
Okay.
the access. You instead you want to lose 0.2 instead of winning 0.02.
Yeah, the right move is to call wrapped around this. Try and get some equity on the turn. And we call, we get this turn. What do? We have 10 high. How often
Seems
is that
like
gonna
start-
show down?
Starting to bluff, I think.
So the 3 doesn't change anything, I don't think. It's a non-equity shifting card. We have
Your
no
EV's still
showdown,
low.
so I think we begin to polarize here with a large bet, like a 6 or a 9. I say 9 because it's a pair board, maybe, I don't know.
I was thinking the
6
same thing.
and then a
betting
big bet
polar.
on river or 9.
Huh. 4 isn't a card that's in range for either of us very much, right? Like we have some ace-4, he has some ace-4, king-4. So the 4s aren't really a big thing. It's all about the 9s. So let's give it a click and we'll see where
I
we
like
go.
the 6. Yeah, the 6 bet. Nice.
Yeah, you got it exactly right. It's okay to check here. I was surprised by this. I am never finding this check in game, which is actually the highest EV decision. But I'm trying to generate some
probably-
fold
it's
What
equity.
happened
probably
on the
checking
flop
also-
again? Oh, it was bet call on the flop? Wait, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he led. and
Oh,
then
yeah, because the
oh,
9 high board he led and then he checked. I don't
Yep.
know. Lewis said to me that you need to be suspicious when they check to you after they bet like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, betting I don't think is bad. I like the sizing. You gotta balance your bluff to value ratio though, so you can't bet everything. So I'm not mixing is fine. Yeah, shit. Actually, no, I think it's a high EV check too, but
Yeah.
high
I mean, so
EV
if you
check.
bet here, are you checking 8s and 7s to call?
This is like
9x,
an ideal check
8s,
actually,
9.
because we can't bet small. If we're out of position, we bet this shit.
So I
In position, I
think
think
this
we
is
check.
about the worst 10 that we have, so I'm gonna check it. But if I had,
Yeah, like if you have a Jack 10, I think that's the threshold to just bet, and I think you would bet. Yeah, I think Jack 10 or Queen 10 is threshold
I
for
like
value
checking
betting.
too.
Yeah, this is our worst candidate.
yeah, our worst 10 wants to check. What 10 bets for value here? Any of
I
them?
think the ones that have that are maybe we don't have offsuit ones.
I think we want to block this flush.
So we want to
that's a
have
Yeah,
a
good-
but we
spade
can't
actually,
bet.
block
do we
it.
want to block the flush?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
want
we
to
do.
block
If
that.
we- if we are betting, we sure do.
Solver will check the nuts out of position on the king.
So our 10s, King 10 checks, Queen 10 checks, Jack 10 checks, Ace 10 when you hold
I'm
the
a
ace of
damn fish.
spades.
After this, I was thinking that Ace 10 was gonna be like it was gonna be King 10 or Ace 10 to value bet, but now and then I was like, well, I'm a fish actually. Because the thing is, we can't use the smaller sizing when the flush completes, the front door flush completes. Because when you try and value bet your top pair in that situation, they're
Yep.
like, no. And then they're gonna jam it in your face.
Yep.
So that's why it checks their top pairs a lot because I guess is Ace 10, what is Ace 10 doing?
Ace 10 is
Putting
when
it
it
in his
has a
face.
spade, it bets.
And then otherwise it's checking.
Well,
It only
all the
gets
other
here with
ones,
the ace of spades.
we don't get here without having the ace of spades.
Oh, we're doing something else with a lot of those hands. So we're just, I mean, this all makes sense. And I've actually noticed because one of the differences between the low stakes and the mid stakes and the high stakes is you can't just bet half pot on a board like this. You have to bet all in. But the top pairs aren't good enough to bet all in. And then when you play when their opponents are smarter, they're not just gonna call your half pot bet. They're gonna find some fucking jams in your face.
So
And then
I
you're gonna
think
get jammed on. And you're
thing
gonna
is-
be like, fuck.
the thing is what I've seen from like Cash is that like we sometimes have to just like think how polarized are we, and if we have enough bluffs, we are in very many spots we are just only like all in sizing because like we're just so polarized. We don't need to go small because if we're polarized, we are still getting called by like bluff catchers.
Yeah, Cash,
Because
the
of
big
being
difference,
polarized.
the big difference between cash and tournament though, is when you're all in for a tournament, that's the end of your day. You
Yeah,
are done,
that's true.
right? Cash, you just, hey, chip runner, 2 more racks, please, and let's go.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true. That's true.
So there is a bit of a a slightly more risk reward to that
Yeah, but
here.
the thing is, but the thing is, Peter, that if you look the sim in the solver, the solver is not assuming payouts in this chip PV model.
Well, but
So-
because the only bet is all in, it raises the threshold for our value bets basically. And so, yes, you might be able to bet King 10, Queen 10, Ace 10 for half pot, but you can't really use the half pot sizing. So since you're only using the pot sizing and the all-in sizing, then now look at our all-ins. We have bluffs And we have flushes, pretty much, we're betting flushes and bluffs here, so that's how you're polarizing. So you're not
Yeah,
polarizing with your top pairs aren't in there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the-
except for
point is,
ace ten with a
It is
spade.
interesting that we choose a smaller size for a value bet with the ace ten off when we're blocking their nut flush. That is the one exception to your rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's,
Can you also show the jack nine, and can you show the jack nine?
Sure. So
Oh
the
man,
Jack nine here.
that's
gets to
crazy.
use The half pot size.
Not finding out.
Yeah, so when you have pocket tens here and you block all the value of getting called by a 10, you get to bet small. When you have this 10 and you can get called by worse tens, you get to bet small.
Mhm.
And ace nine also does that, and jack nine does that because they are balancing out these ace 10 and pocket tens. Right, and then you have a couple of pure bluffs with 6-5 and ace 5. When you get
Yeah,
your-
I'm not
Ace
sure
five is
what
so
the
funny.
jack nine is doing, so I can't really comment. But I suppose it's a safer half pot fold and actually does get value. I suppose if you're
The-
half pot, you're folding.
So the
The
king
jack-
10 with the king of spades is a check rack as opposed to the ace 10 with the ace of spades.
King
Okay,
10
thanks.
is not strong enough to bet here.
Thanks.
No problem. So Jack 9 chooses the bet size because the Jack blocks the probability of him continuing with Jack 10. So he's just less likely to show up with the Jack here, or with the 10 here when this comes. So bit of an interesting spot.
That was
But
an interesting spot.
I think we'll probably wrap up here for today. I hope you guys have all had a great time. We will be back next week, Monday, for some more hot